Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going on an absolutely incredible journey from test-taking despair to triumphant, intuitive success. Look, if you've ever stared blankly at a test screen, felt your heart totally racing, and just completely forgot information you know for a fact you studied, you are in exactly the right place. We're going to break down Elmira's wildly unique, proven approach to completely resetting your strategy and conquering test anxiety for good. So let's dive right into this.
So first things first, we have to ask, why do you keep failing? Or maybe a better way to put it is, why does taking tests fill you with such intense, paralyzing dread? Well, what Elmira's experience teaching countless students reveals is honestly incredibly validating. It is rarely the actual study material that's causing your repeated failures. You aren't failing because you aren't smart enough. No way. You're stumbling because of the heavy burdens of anxiety, overthinking, and deep subconscious blocks that are literally sitting right there in that testing chair next to you.
Elmira points out that we actually bring all of our past baggage into our exams with us, essentially living out what she calls an old story. She shares some pretty wild real-world examples of this, like a student who couldn't pick a single answer on a multiple-choice test because her controlling mom had made every single decision for her entire life, or a 40-year-old student completely paralyzed by test anxiety because his family constantly judged his lack of formal credentials. That right there is the old story. To pass, you have to write a new story, one where you were relaxed, intuitive, and totally trusting of your innate knowing. You absolutely have to address this unseen, subconscious programming before you can ever hit pass.
Which boils down to this really profound philosophy. How you do one thing is how you do everything. Think about it for a second. Ask yourself right now, how do you drive? Do you get road rage? Are you always rushing and inhaling your lunch? Because if you live your everyday life hurriedly and anxiously, well, you will inevitably approach your exam with that exact same frantic, doomed energy. To change your test results, you literally have to change how you move through your daily life. It's a real game changer.
All right, moving on to Section 1. The feeling is the secret.
So, true preparation requires moving away from pure left brain cramming to actually harnessing your emotional state. Let's say you sit down to review your flashcards and you're just dreading it, treating it like a terrible chore. What happens? You are locking your body into the sympathetic nervous system. That's your fight or flight mode. Your brain literally cannot retain information effectively in a state of survival. Elmira's method dictates that you must shift into the parasympathetic nervous system. How? By practicing the joyful feeling of passing every single day. Celebrate before the physical result even happens. Elmira talks about how when she passed, she immediately went out for Mexican food and a celebratory margarita. What does your celebration look like? Simulate that winning feeling every single time you sit down to study.
Next up, Section 2, embodying your study material.
If you're a massage therapist, a nurse, or really any kind of hands-on professional, your greatest asset is your physical connection to the body. So why on earth are you studying entirely in your head? You need to physicalize your studying. Elmira literally has her students dance the cha-cha slide to understand the sagittal, coronal, and transverse planes of the body. It's brilliant. If you're an auditory learner who needs to move, listen to lectures while you're out taking a walk. If you're reading about a muscle's action, actually physically activate that muscle on your own body. You will never, ever remember the material if you don't get out of your head and into your physical body.
Which brings us to Section 3. Target your weaknesses, not everything.
We really need to shift in the narrative entirely away from the massive overwhelm of trying to study the entire curriculum. We need a targeted playbook. Treat studying exactly like lifting weights. If you go to the gym and your legs are already incredibly strong, you aren't going to spend all your time doing squats, right? You'd work on your weak arms or your core. The exact same is true here. If you already excel at anatomy, you must bravely pivot all your focus to your weakest areas. Maybe that's pathology, or maybe it's professional ethics. Find that 10-pound weakness and intentionally build it into a 20-pound strength.
Now, Elmira's contraindications method is a fantastic way to simplify those complex weak areas. Instead of memorizing thousands of confusing pathologies, she turns it into a really intuitive game of red light, yellow light, green light. So when evaluating a medical condition, just ask yourself, is this a green light to proceed? Is it a yellow light, meaning proceed with caution? Or is it a red light, meaning absolutely no way, because it's an infection or it's contagious? Visualizing information this way completely cuts through the noise and makes it immediately actionable.
All right, let's look at Section 4, the OCD method.
Now, as great as feeling good is, spiritual manifestation alone won't conquer the exam without rigid left brain structure. This is Elmira's OCD method. Order, consistency, discipline. Step 1, you have to set a totally non-negotiable schedule. If you decide your study time is Thursday at 3 p.m., then Thursday at 3 p.m. is sacred, period.
Step 2, take consistent, scheduled practice tests to simulate the real environment. Step 3, enforce strict self-accountability. Just like a musician relentlessly practicing the trumpet to build endurance, true mastery requires real, disciplined practice.
Moving right along to Section 5, the ABS method, which stands for Always Be Studying.
So let's see how this actually builds into your daily routine. Don't worry, this doesn't mean burning yourself out staring at a textbook for 3 hours every single day. Instead, if a coworker comes up to you and complains of neck pain, connect the dots in your mind right then and there. Ask yourself, are they dealing with their scalenes, their sternocleidomastoid, or maybe their splenius capitis? Live the material out loud. By organically weaving your preparation into real-world interactions, making those connections becomes second nature. It makes it virtually impossible to forget when test day actually arrives.
When applying this knowledge to tricky test questions, remember, it is all about strategy over panic. First up, use your knowns to find your unknowns. If a question throws a bizarre, intimidating medication name at you, let's say Quixodan, but it also mentions the quadriceps, ignore the scary word. Focus entirely on what you do know about the quadriceps. Second, if a question is 5 sentences long, stop skimming it. Mentally rewrite it 1 sentence at a time. And finally, especially if English is your second language, make sure you master your root medical prefixes, words like hyper, hypo, and sub. Trust what you already know to safely guide you through the traps.
And finally, Section 6, Test Day, and the power of letting go.
So the exam is fast approaching, and there is one final terrifying leap of faith you absolutely must take, and that is, don't do any studying the day before the test. I know, let that sink in. This goes against literally every anxious instinct you have, but you must challenge that destructive urge to cram in the final hours. Elmira firmly directs her students to set a hard study cutoff time the morning before the exam. You have to give your brain the space it needs to naturally integrate weeks and months of hard work. Go get a massage, relax, trust the preparation.
And when you are actually sitting right there in that testing chair, staring at the screen, I want you to use this ultimate mantra. Step 1, relax. Breathe deeply to pull yourself completely out of fight or flight. Step 2, reset. If you hit a hard question, do not spiral. Just treat it as a single data point, not some catastrophic failure. Step 3, retake control. Trust your inner knowing and just execute. Your soul, your brain, and your body already know the essence of what is on this exam.
To wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final, pretty provocative question. Are you finally ready for success? Or is your subconscious secretly comfortable with the mediocrity of failing? It's a tough question, for sure, but a totally necessary one. If you truly want this, I challenge you right now. Grab a pen and write down 5 reasons you absolutely deserve success. Confront those unseen fears, connect to the joyful feeling of passing, and step confidently into your brand new reality. You've absolutely got this.